Say test, test.
Do test. Yep.
So you're menu say.
Testing.
Yep. If we could turn our microphones on. Well, it's after,
He's here, he's
you may have just run or something.
It's just
doing
not
Shane stuff.
right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Begin.
All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order. In accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act of 1975, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided and advertised. If we'd stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Carol, would you
Now
like
you're
to do
supposed
the...
to say, play ball.
Yes.
That's what Jay always says.
If you can call the roll, please, Carol?
Sure.
Thank you.
Just give me a minute.
Sure.
That's all. Jay is excused. George A.
Here.
Barb, is she excused?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything. Connie, did you hear anything from Barbara?
She emailed me right before I came down.
Excused.
She what?
Excused.
Okay. Carol Sick,
Here.
George W. Here. Mark J., I'm sorry.
Jay?
Jim,
Oh, Jim. Yeah, yes, here. Yeah, okay.
Name.
Well, it starts with a J.
Yeah,
name
you're
tags
getting
is what
close.
we need.
It's okay.
Frank? Shane?
Here.
Okay.
All right, if you would take a look at the minutes from last month's meeting, we'll ask for a motion to approve.
Okay, I'll look at that.
Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes from last month's meeting?
Sure, I'll make a motion.
Second, anyone?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions? Me. I wasn't here. All right. All right, we have some guests here today. Dana Nestor, would you please come up? And if you'd just turn the microphone on.
Chair's gonna hide. Hello,
Hi.
I'm Dana Nestor. My husband and I recently purchased 1033 Cape May Avenue. And I want to thank you for providing this opportunity for me to appeal the decision or the denial to remove a tree in my yard. My reason for wanting that tree removed are that there are several, and they are that, one, it is leaning. While we can all agree that it's leaning, as a new homeowner, I'm sure whether the angle has changed over time. It's possible that it has. It's possible that it hasn't. But should the angle change further over time, I'm concerned the tree will need to be removed after it grows much larger and will become more difficult to remove. Here's a photo of the tree.
Thank you.
It's
Oh,
growing
right,
into the
plenty of
neighbor's. Yeah, I'm surprised your neighbor, I'm the one that looked at the tree. I'm surprised your neighbor hasn't complained.
I just met the neighbor 2 weeks ago, and
Okay.
the first thing they said was, "I'm surprised you haven't removed
the same.
that tree."
I think, different angle.
Well, the thing is, the tree is alive.
It looks
a
like
maple.
a maple.
Yeah,
It's a maple.
Yeah.
it's a maple.
Yeah, I do have a little bit of information about the tree. I don't think there's anything wrong with the tree. I don't think it's infested with pests. I don't think it's invasive. So my second reason for wanting the tree removed are the neighbors. They are entirely responsible for any type of tree leaf removal, and I would actually have to enter their property to prune it or to trim it. Another reason is it doesn't provide any shade to my yard. Our family won't be able to enjoy it during the summertime. The fourth reason is it's unsightly. I think that my yard should be an extension of this beautiful city, and the way that it looks right now, it's not, in my opinion. So,
Since I have not seen this tree in person, I'm just looking at the photos. Were there other, it looks to me as if at the juncture of the trunk, that there were other trunks that may have been removed over time?
that was before my time with the property.
Yeah, I couldn't tell.
It looks like it has a couple of other trees that were growing quite close to it, where
Okay.
they just severed the trunks.
That's,
But the root system
yeah,
may remain in place intact?
yeah,
I'm not sure.
okay.
I don't have the answer to that. But I did look at the City of Cape May's code, Chapter 482, regarding trees and shrubs, Section D1. And since the existing tree is outside the building footprint, having a greater than 3-inch diameter trunk measured at a point 4.5 feet above the ground on the downhill side of the tree, should you, the commission, authorize the removal of this tree, it will require that I, the applicant, plant 2 trees in its place. So what I've done is contracted Bayshore Landscaping and requested for them to plant 4 trees, so doubling the amount required by the code if this is approved. I already made the deposit, I already paid for 2 of them.
And does that have the species of trees on it?
Crepe myrtles.
Oh.
I saw that crepe myrtles were on the list of approved trees. So this tree that's currently in the yard has a 6-inch circumference.
Right.
I'm sorry, diameter. Yep. Diameter, 24-inch
Right.
circumference. So it's just about the size of a dollar bill at 4.5 feet tall.
Right.
So I've also planted, I upgraded the evergreens that were going in on the property. I paid $1,290 to upgrade all of them to cherry laurels because I liked the idea of having the leaves in the yard and the greenery. So cherry laurels are beautiful. I don't know if you're familiar with
Yes.
them. They can reach a height of 18 feet tall, 18, 20 feet tall, 6 to 12 feet wide. And they have beautiful dark green, lustrous leaves. They actually bloom, producing small fragrant flowers. They attract pollinators, and they contribute to the health of the overall ecosystem. So, any questions for me?
No, but I'd like to thank you for planting cherry laurels instead of Leyland cypress, because so many plant those, and they tend to not do well in wind and stuff like that. Yeah.
Here's an additional photo if you'd like to see it. This is the tree from the front view of the house. So I have a couple of these as well.
Okay.
They lean on each other.
So this is the tree back here. That's the back of the fence.
That's what I'm thinking. Was this tree ever trimmed at any point? Because it's so lopsided.
I don't have the answer to that as a new homeowner.
I'm assuming the tree was shaded out by other trees at some point in time, and it was reaching for the sunlight, you know, because just the the diameter of the trunk relative to the height of the tree is off, obviously, but also the way the tree reached, what would have caused it to reach that way? Lynn?
And when that property.
I think it's a maple tree.
Maple, yeah.
When the property was cleared for construction, I don't believe they took any trees down.
No, in fact, there's a holly on the opposite side of the backyard that's now, it's blocked by the garage, but we didn't take the holly down, and the holly wouldn't be impacted by the removal of this
Right.
tree or its root system.
I mean, this is not the typical growth pattern
It's
of a
really-
maple.
It's
And
really
it's-
bizarre looking.
It's, I have to agree, it's kind of,
Okay, so I denied the request because the tree wasn't particularly attractive, but it looked like a healthy tree. That was my basis
I don't disagree with that.
for the
Looks like a
denial.
healthy tree.
Have you considered possibly cropping the top of it and?
I don't-
There is a, I'm looking, with the photo I have, it's hard to see. I do see one crotch here, like sort of branching out. Maybe there's possibility coming down to a point like that. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of growth on the trunk until you get up to, wow,
It's about
15 to 20 feet high.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 I'm not able to prune it from my yard or trim it from my yard, so I guess I would need permission from the neighbors if I were to do that.
and it looks as if
I
it's,
think your neighbor would be in favor.
Oh, my neighbor, yeah. As I mentioned, my neighbor, when I met them for the first time 2 weeks ago, they said, "Oh, we're surprised you didn't get rid of that tree."
it looks like it's encroaching actually on their trees from this photo.
Kind of hangs over there.
This is new
I don't know
construction?
where there's a garage.
Yes.
There's new construction. I think I know the home. I know where this is. Okay.
Yeah.
1033.
I know where that is.
Yeah.
As a non-voting member, I'll give my opinion. I think there's not a good future for this tree, and even if you crop it off, it won't be pretty for a long time. It might stay there for a long time, but I think you've presented a landscape plan that could benefit the neighborhood and your yard. That's my opinion.
Where would you put those 4 trees?
So the 2 of the trees are going to be planted in the front of the yard. The other two trees' placement is pending this commission's decision to remove that tree.
And as far as the cropping, we tend to discourage topping of trees to begin with.
Right.
And the way this, I can't see this
I don't
tree
see a good
recovering.
point on that
to-
tree where it can be even done.
No.
I just don't, I'm trying to look to see what that could be.
And I think the tree has been abused at the roots.
Yeah, I think there were other trunks that were co-dominant
Could've been a
trunks that
beautiful
were
tree at one time.
removed.
I bet it was.
Yeah.
And now it looks like it's from a Dr. Seuss book.
We've talked about
But they're crazy.
lion's tails before, that's so, it's kind of like a lion,
That's the
bushy
only
lion's
thing.
tail.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'd be amenable to changing two of the trees.
yeah.
For the backyard, for the front, I'm going to go with crepe myrtles, but for the two replacement trees, I'd definitely be happy to replace them with something that's a
Okay.
larger shade tree.
I'd be in favor of that.
Well, why don't we
some
talk
type-
about that?
Okay. Well, you can put another maple if you like,
That
or
would just be one, though, because they get so large.
you can use, I mean, we use
maples
hackberry,
don't
we
get big.
use, you mean the Japanese red
Yeah.
maples?
The Japanese
They're not
maples are
really,
beautiful.
but they're not really a shade tree either, for the most part. You're talking Crimson King, the Norway
Yeah.
cultivar. You can use that. They don't tend to get as large either. And they're a slow-growing maple. They have the red leaves, the burgundy-colored leaves. There's American hornbeam, which kind of grows more columnar, so it's not going to provide a lot of shade, but it is a native species. You can even do, if you're looking for shade, of course, then, there's other options. There's willow oak, which has a very small leaf, that kind of thing. But,
So on the list of approved trees, there are different categories
Right.
of the trees. So maybe we could possibly talk about which, I don't have that on me
I
handy,
don't have
but
the
if we could talk about that, then I
Okay.
could commit to doing that, because
Okay.
right now it's just us talking, I'll say, oh, I'll put something else in, but
Yeah.
where's the accountability with that?
yeah. George may have a copy of the list. He tends to be more organized with his files than I am.
Didn't bring that far.
No, you didn't bring that file. Well, we do have a list somewhere. I mean, if you'd like to, what if we were to approve the removal of this tree now, and perhaps you can come back when you take a look at the list of trees, and we may be able to make some suggestions?
Can I make another suggestion?
Sure.
Yeah.
What if you were to go to Carol and say, these are the trees that you're suggesting, and just be behind the closed scenes? It'd be a condition of approval until we approve the trees. Is that more accommodating instead of you coming here next month?
Who's Carol?
It would probably
That's your
be-
district, or the chairman.
It's my
Or the-
district,
chairman.
but George is probably more knowledgeable
acting
about
chairman.
trees than I am,
He's a vice chairman.
Here's a rough
Oh, yeah.
list.
and what's appropriate.
You can plant, there's also birch trees, which are really faster growing. They don't get to be huge trees, but they do provide shade. And there's several species that we've approved on here, which I think would actually look very nice in the backyard. Yellow birch, gray birch. We've got flowering dogwood, but they're just kind of a little. And the other trees get to be quite large, so if you're looking for something that's not going to be huge, I think birch tree might be a nice alternative to
I
that.
think we'd need two
Yeah.
trees.
Yeah,
So maybe one birch and one,
Why don't we do this, George, for the sake of time here?
yeah.
Give the individual a copy of that
Dana?
list that we have here, which are the approved trees,
Okay.
and come back next month after you consult with your landscaper and tell us what you'd like to do.
okay.
Is that reasonable?
Okay, thanks. It's a little rough copy, but it's a copy anyway.
Yes.
It'll have the species on it.
I don't want to commit to coming to next month's meeting until I look at the date.
Okay, that's fine.
I
Yeah,
just wanna
December's
say,
a busy month. but
I have river birch trees in my yard, and they're very nice trees, and they're not really encumbering. I think they'll get tall, but the leaves are small, and they've done very well.
If that's an approved tree, I have those at my house in Wilmington. I would plant river birches.
Yeah,
But are they shade trees?
yeah, they provide.
They are shade trees.
It's-
Most of the time, they come multi-trunked. Yeah,
Yeah,
which is
right.
fine. They are on the approved list.
They're good in a damp
I mean-
area, I mean, if you've got any water problems. That's why they were recommended to me.
Right.
They have a short lifespan, though, don't they?
Well, about 25 years. So you're
Yeah,
not
'cause
looking
mine
at,
are,
you look at an oak or sycamore, you're talking up to 100
I think
plus,
mine are
but,
12.
yeah.
They're doing fine.
Yeah,
One issue that we're going to have with planting the new trees is that they do have to go in the next couple of weeks. Or else we have to wait until the spring.
well, they typically, I mean, I don't know what the inventory is of the landscapers that you're using, but trees are typically still being dug because they haven't all,
Yeah, he
Finished.
said
They
that he
haven't-
needed to, thank you so much. This is the updated list? I assume?
yes.
That's with our notes associated with it.
Great. He needed a couple weeks just for the crepes, which
Okay.
are going in. They were
Right.
supposed to have gone in before today.
Well, those are probably dug already, but I'm saying
Yeah.
a lot of the nurseries don't dig yet because, until the trees go into a more dormant state.
Okay,
So, and really around here, you can plant pretty much most of the winter. We don't really get a hard freeze here, so,
nice.
you can plant in December or January.
We've seen December plans.
Oh, yeah, January plantings too,
Oh,
so,
that's interesting. My landscaper said that we have until the third week in November
yeah.
So that
to get them in the ground.
Shouldn't impact you too much with that December date in mind. Talk to your landscaper for the remainder of this month and maybe visit us next month and say, this is what I'd like to do.
Spring's best for planting anyway.
I was going to say, if it had to be pushed off until the spring, does that matter to you or not?
It would just be a matter of removing the tree that's currently there because
Well,
it's still in the
haven't voted yet,
neighbor's.
But it looks like you have the approval for the removal of the tree, so I wouldn't be too concerned with that right now.
We are in a drought as well.
Yeah.
I'm aware.
Well, would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
removal
Removal of the tree is approved.
Thank you.
on the condition that.
On the conditions
two,
of the two
shade
shade
trees
trees being planted
Thank you.
on the property.
Oh, you want?
And again, if it's convenient for you, if you could come back next month and give us an idea what you'd like to do.
Either next month or in
Yeah.
January. I have to look at my schedule. I don't have it
I
on
mean,
here. I
you
left my
can
phone in my
also.
purse. I have 5 children.
I could suggest maybe you can email your choices in the meantime, to the secretary. And we
That's a
can
great
do
idea.
that If you can't make it.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
for letting-
Do you mind if I keep these? Thank you.
So I'm a neighbor. I'm on the other side of Cape May Avenue. So welcome.
It's a small town. It's a
My
small town.
grandpa, I don't know if you remember him, his name was Donald McClintock.
No.
On 1307 Idaho Avenue, so I spent my summers in Cape May.
Oh, nice.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
I'm good friends with the neighbor over here.
Okay.
All right. Old business. I guess we'll get to that first, or next. Lanternfly.
It'd be a shame.
Yeah,
Oh, here we go.
you're on.
Okay, so we had a meeting with the subcommittee about lanternflies. As we all know, the Shade Tree Commission, or the City of Cape May, received a $20,000 grant from the state about battling lanternflies, and a lot of it, I think, the decision of the city manager thought it would be within our purview because lanternflies are attracted to the tree of heaven, which are also from Asia and are both invasive species. We met with a subcommittee, George Warner and Carol York. We consulted with one of the Shade Tree Commission members of West Cape May. His name's Warren,
Hoffman, Wayne Hoffman.
Wayne Hoffman, excuse me. And he actually enlightened us on a lot of things about the lanternflies. That being said, we realize as a subcommittee that there are a lot of Tree of Heaven, not just in Cape May, but also in West Cape May. There are 3 properties currently that have over 25 trees. So, meeting with the city manager, we came up, after coming up with a plan, I met with the city manager to kind of discuss what our findings was, and we just said that we don't even know what trees we have in our own backyard, city properties,
Right.
et cetera. So there's discussions of whether we spend this money essentially on the trees that we have in the city of Cape May, and then possibly come up with a 50/50 program and asking the city council to come up with a amount of money to do this 50/50 program. We don't know if there's going to be a funding source from the state coming up next year. Am I jumping on anybody's toes at this point? Or stepping on anybody's toes? So we realized that there's a bigger problem than we knew. So we are anticipating giving some information. The city manager wants to have 2 different flyers going out to the first quarter of the year, which is the spring, when all the nymphs of these flies start growing. Will give us information such as spraying them with vinegar water, or vinegar, soap water, putting things like duct tape backwards around the tree bark to collect these things before they start to be able to fly. If you spray them with the soap water or the vinegar, they won't grow their wings. There's a lot to it. But that's a springtime, assault at this problem. We need to first identify where these trees are in Cape May.
Right.
And we have projects going around the town. I think that's an opportunity for the city of Cape May to, just like the trails behind the school, to see where these things are, to get rid of them while they're easily accessible. And I think that's a good plan moving forward. We have time. It's going to be all about information for the people. And I think our committee's up for it. We're talking about putting some stuff in the newspapers, bookmarks, flyers.
Went to see Rutgers.
We went to go see Rutgers Cooperative Extension and see if we can get somebody up there to give kind of a discussion of how to identify. See, the problem right now is that we can't identify the trees of heaven because the leaves are falling off. And it's all going to really be a great campaign for the spring. So I think moving forward, we have to figure out, let the people know, email us at the Shade Tree Commission, let us know if you think you have tree of heaven in your yard, and then we have to know how much we have to determine how to create an assault on this situation.
Right.
And
We had a difficult time. The city manager asked if we could budget this, and the difficult number to come up with, not knowing really
How many trees we're dealing with, exactly.
Oh, yep.
so at this point, I think we're in an information stage, an information gathering stage as a commission and subcommittee. And once we get that information, we can come up with a financial plan moving forward. And this is all very preliminary.
Right.
This could be a catastrophic realization for all of us. And we need to know the information first.
Right. Yeah.
So for the $20,000 grant, how does this committee or this commission look to spend that money? Through public information, if I'm hearing that?
No, public information is easy. That's the soft costs.
Okay.
We have printers, We have paper. And the real money, I think, with the city manager, and I don't want to speak for him because he's not here right now, was to go after the trees.
Correct, that's what,
So we're going to encourage the people to email us at the Shade Tree Commission. If you think you have a tree, let us know. We'll have, we'll document it, and at some point, we'll have an expert go out there and determine whether that tree is, in fact, the tree of heaven, and discuss the costs associated with it, because you're not just cutting down a tree, you're cutting it down, you're poisoning it for 30 to 60 days, and then that trunk has to be, or the roots have to be removed at that point. So it's not just, it's more costly than just removing a tree. And it's one of the things that the Shade Tree Commission might want to be thinking about is, are we going to be focused on the giant trees that cost thousands of dollars to bring down, or trees that are about this big, that can do quicker, faster? I think the 50/50 program can kind of help us out when it comes to the private residents. And if we can get this under a bid threshold, annually, we can probably, chip away at this annually. I think people would want to be encouraged to get rid of these trees. And I think the Shade Tree Commission should, give them all the waivers of fees, et cetera. And, we want to encourage them to plant 2 more trees, but I don't think that's necessarily what we're asking for at this
That's
point.
Right, that's not the
I think
focus.
the 50/50 concept, Shane, that you have suggested is good.
It's a great idea.
It makes some sense. It relieves, doesn't relieve the pressure, responsibility, but it lessens the financial impact to the people, and the city participates. Nice little partnership going.
Right.
We'll see where the trail ends.
It gives the people an option. It's their property, after all.
Right.
Would you like Casey to do a Facebook post with the information, or?
I have information I can give out. I think it's premature right
Okay.
now. For people that are out there listening, there's also, I didn't realize, I meant to mention this to you, George. There's if you look on the website, there's a lot of information under the Environmental Commission about this right now. And there's some fantastic links to it. So I think it's already there.
Yep.
But I would prefer the city manager to come up and speak financially of what he's looking for, And he's super, I think he's really into this. I think he's given us a lot of opportunity here to really shine.
Okay.
Shane, if I can ask,
for
any
it.
environmental concerns with the poisoning of the tree roots and?
Well, that is a concern, but the other concerns was how to get rid of the lantern flies. There was discussions about having a company like Viking, or, a pest control company, come out and spray, even though it's a spray that doesn't, it kind of gets dries up over time, over, a day or whatever. We don't want to encourage people to spray chemicals or pesticides on the island. We all know that goes into the ocean. The city of Cape May has banned herbicides from the Public Works. They're not happy about it, but it makes their jobs harder. But essentially, we're trying to keep it an environmentally safe city. And so we want to encourage people to be their own advocates by spraying the vinegar or soap water. And these critters are, elusive.
Well, my question is with the poisoning that you were talking about, with the
In
tree
the
trunk,
trunks.
why can't the stump just be ground out like a typical tree?
I'm not a tree expert,
Okay.
but that's the course of action that's been brought to my attention
I think
through
they've
multiple
been-
sources.
Been led to believe that these roots.
We'll send out runners and,
Right, yeah.
Oh,
The
okay.
runners, okay.
That it's just not your typical
Got it.
tree roots. These things are out there.
then,
Growing
that's,
like rhizomes, basically.
Yeah.
the Soil and branches.
that's why you start off with one and you end up with a grove.
Okay.
Basically,
And what's
it
a
doesn't take
fully
long.
matured size of these trees? I'm not that familiar with them.
Gigantic.
They
You
are
ever seen a
huge.
big tree? They look just like that.
Big ones, yeah.
Very big.
When they're young, they're easily confused with sumac, which are a good native species. That's the only other problem, too. So identifying them is definitely something that we need to make sure we.
The leaves are, they're similar to a palm
Right.
type of leaf, with the different little fingers coming
Okay.
out. There's a special way to look at the leaves at the nub.
But these trees
they're
can be as
smooth.
tall as 50, 60 feet tall?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Wow.
Wow.
They're all over the island, and they're, if we don't control this, it could affect our agricultural aspects of our life, especially in our, grapes.
There has been reports of infestation in West Cape.
Oh, West Cape May, yeah,
Here, we've been blessed, but
so far, but how long that'll last is, yeah.
I think we have to be proactive in ensuring that we don't get it.
So the course of action, I think, right now is we're going to gather the information about who thinks they have these trees. We're going to get information about how to identify these trees, how to, get rid of these bugs. And we're going to wait till the city manager comes back to give us a full program of how to approach the city council for funding.
Okay, sounds good.
So they can email the commission?
Email the commission, please.
Connie, what's that email? What's the email for the commission?
I'll have to send it to you.
Okay. Just want to make sure we get the info.
We can put that on the website.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I'll give you some stuff to put on the website.
Yep, not a problem.
I believe it is, the website is, the email address is on the website. That's how people
George,
find
what is this 50?
And with regards to that, on a different note, I want to work on that list, that official list of approved trees.
Yeah.
And I want to get that on the website as soon as possible, especially before the spring.
Yeah, because we worked on that months ago.
I have no problem, come up with a draft list, a revised list, send it to you guys, tell me how to change it, I'll be happy to do
Oh,
it.
great. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, I don't know, the letter to contractors? Oh,
I
you
want to say one more thing.
Yeah.
Joel Jaden? Joel Jaden, Perez is here. He ran a positive campaign for the city of Cape May. He's thinking about getting involved. They invited him here today to tell him about what we do here, you know. I'm just the liaison, but all these commissioners here, they have a responsibility of a district in town. And people ask, and I saved these for you to take a look at what we were talking about. We approve or deny trees, removal or trimming. And it's kind of evasive, but it's a little bit overwhelming to be a judge in that sense, if anybody else wants to join in. But when you're a member of the boards or this commission, you know, it's a tough role to play to say,
You're not making friends.
you're not making friends, and you're making tough judgments.
I had a friend today.
And a lot of times it comes like what we just saw here today, which is a positive exchange and negotiation that we establish. And, you know, if you're ever interested in the future joining us, we'd be happy to have you, as well as other things in the city of Cape May. Just stay involved, come to the meetings. That's how you become, you know, more known by the public, you know, and more electable.
And you'll note, sir, that there's a flag up on
Yeah, that was a big achievement.
Oh,
the stage there. The Cape May is a shade
City.
tree city.
Tree City.
Correct.
Tree City.
40 years.
Yeah.
We want to keep that.
That's really cool. I really do appreciate it, guys. You guys are basically the Lorax.
Pretty much, we tried.
A friend of mine actually sent me the license. plate for this.
It's I really do appreciate getting the introduction and everything. I think it's really interesting, and I always, in terms of just working in government, self-serving and helping people, that's something I'm very interested in, and just want to say thank you for
Oh.
experiences. So.
You got it.
You were the only one out there with your photo on your lawn signs.
Actually, I'm so glad you said that's probably the best campaign sign the city's ever seen. to be
Yeah,
honest with you.
it was a good one. Absolutely.
yeah.
It's true. All right, well, thank you, welcome, and please join us another time, and I'll give you these photos so you know what we're talking about. And city manager, or deputy city manager, did you have anything else? I didn't mean to cut you off because I
No,
think
no,
you
no.
came up here
Go right
because you
ahead.
might have had other things.
Nope, you're fine. If you have anything for me, obviously, Paul couldn't make the meeting, but if you have anything for me, I'm available. Questions, comments?
I do have
concerns?
one question. Do you have any idea what the start date is for the construction on Franklin Street?
On,
With the, with the block where the library is? It's supposed to be redone with the brick sidewalks and different landscaping?
I'll get you the exact date. I think we're still trying to work on that.
There might be still some stuff to be done underground,
Oh, okay.
right? It's possible.
So, and then City Hall lot was supposed to be November 18th, but trying to work with the contractor to see when the exact date is. It sounds like he has to move the date a little bit, so.
While we're talking about the City Hall lot,
Oh, my gosh.
the tree that was removed, that is the only tree that's going to be removed out there? There was a maple tree in the center that was cut down.
Frank, do you know?
That's the only one I know that's being removed.
Okay. Because
That's a
that,
good question, because I was going to say, why would they do it at different times for different trees?
yeah.
So that's
Because
not a
that's-
bad trade-off.
Yeah, no, because at first it was mentioned about the oak, and that one that's a beautiful tree all the way at the end, and I really don't want to see that go.
Yeah, as far as I know, that is the only one
safe.
that was on our radar, right?
It's reprieved.
Poor tree.
I don't have any other questions, I don't think.
That's my district.
Is there anything, any updates with the 50/50 sidewalk program that's been discussed over the last few meetings?
No update.
No update? Okay.
All right.
Wow, 35 minutes.
Taking the letter, the contractor probably wait for.
Yeah, I think Jay would, yeah, that's,
One of the things I brought up before the meeting, I don't mean to, you know, Connie already has a list that was established, before she became our secretary. Is that the right word?
yeah.
So I asked if there's a spreadsheet that explains all the approvals of trimming and cut downs for all of us. And there is one, just that we don't have access to it because it's on her computer. But, when you wake up in the morning, you hear a chainsaw in your backyard or whatever, we're like, oh, do I have to call Connie and say, make her flip through a bunch of paperwork to decide whether this
Yeah.
was approved. I think it'd be great to have some kind of platform. You can help us with this, Justin, with this spreadsheet that we can all access. It says when the approvals were, so they only have 1 year, so after that approval, they're off the list. You know, they're no longer have that permit. And also, it gives us an opportunity, not us, you folks as commissioners, an opportunity to say, well, there should be some kind of follow-up.
Right.
Was this a permit,
Followed through with.
followed through?
complete.
Exactly. I think that's an opportunity for all of us to say, listen, if I hear a chainsaw, we know if it's approved or not. You know, if we look at this, we should reconcile this list every
Right.
year. Or on a certain annual basis, or multi-annual basis, to determine, was the job done? Because chances are, a lot of people put their permits in, they got approvals. There's got to be a few trees out there that never were
Right.
cut down.
And then we have the replacement clause, and we have to make sure we follow up on that, too. So
Yes.
that should be part of the same.
But I
Yeah,
thought
that's a
code
big-
enforcement
Makes it
wasn't,
valuable.
So a simple spreadsheet for all of us to look at, I'm a, a nosy person, I like to look at that stuff too, so.
Shane, wasn't code enforcement supposed to follow up on that?
Uh,
Or-
They got such a large job, I think as commissioners, it's kind of your job.
We should check I think we should check our own district and see,
see,
like,
yeah.
just like going back to 20 Patterson. So
Well-
we kept after it, and code enforcement, and you know how that played, and it was successful. They ended up completing the plan as they had accepted.
That also was tenacious,
Oh, definitely.
tenacious commissioners, tenacious code enforcement.
Right, exactly.
Everybody working in tandem.
I think that's a great idea. Obviously, do your thing, reach out to code enforcement as needed, and working together, I think is kind of, the spirit of the commission and how we get things done, more efficiently. I just wanted to add, to talk about projects. If you go on capemaycity.com, at the top, there's like a scrolling banner. You can see where the updates are for all the construction projects in the city. So, and there's plans, PDFs, things like that. Paul tries to update it, or I try to update it as we get the information. 'Cause there's a lot of projects.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, one more thing before you're left off the hook. I know, and you,
Turn the mic
and you,
off.
Keep that
and you,
thing on.
yeah. As far as Kiwanis Park, I don't know what the,
No,
you have
go ahead.
information?
No, go ahead.
I'm not sure what the contract was and who the contract was even with the landscaping. But with the trees that did not survive, did they have a replacement clause in that contract? Or would that be something that,
So we did a punch list walkthrough about 2 weeks ago at this point. The mayor, myself, Councilman Meyer, and the engineer. And on that punch list are the trees that didn't
Did
make
not
it.
make it.
And if you recall, the 3 trees closest to like where the tennis courts
Right.
are, we told them, you got to find a better spot because there's no irrigation over there. So there is a plan to replace the trees that didn't make it.
okay. And do you have an idea of the species? Or would they come up with the species? Because we had suggested
It could be documented, it might be documented on the
on the website.
plan.
Okay.
I can find out more specifics about species.
Well, we did, well, I don't know, but we did discuss at one of the meetings when Paul was here, that I questioned why some of those species were used, because they were small ornamental trees, and we have large open spaces there where we could have used trees that we can't use along the streets, like beech trees, which would be beautiful. We really don't have, we have no beech trees that I'm aware of left in the city. We had 2 on Washington. What's
Do
that?
you have recommendations on a few
the
trees?
large area?
A few trees that they could look at?
Well, it would be nice to have an American beech or a copper-leafed beech. That would be one thing I would suggest. There's hickory, too. The only thing with hickory is sometimes they produce nuts, but we have the tree list, but I would suggest the large species of trees that we approved, especially those for park settings. We can even do a metasequoia in there, which is a Don redwood. They get to be a huge tree. But if we've got the open space there, that it's not being used.
I don't think that they can put any trees in, where they had the 3 trees, I don't think they
Because of
can
the
replant
irrigation, you're
any
saying?
trees there, because there's no irrigation. There's no way, right now, basically, Public Works has to come on a golf cart and hand water it, or find another mechanism to water it.
We
So I
had
don't-
contracted to have the trees watered that we planted
Right,
around the city.
which is pretty costly.
It's
And we did
costly,
look
but-
at the budget on that, and just,
It's not there.
not going to be feasible
Yeah.
long-term out there.
Because we've had one of our most successful planting years by, yes, it was a costly expense, but it was well worth it
Sure.
because we have a much greater rate of survival.
I think looking at, like I said, in the punch list, looking at a better location for the trees would do better. I can certainly recommend looking at the types of species out there that would do better.
Well, I think we can backtrack a little bit. The whole concept of the trees at Kiwanis Park was a sensory garden. It was for people with special needs. So these trees were, all about being touched,
Tactile, yeah.
tactile, the soft leaves and these different other type of things. That was the focus on these type of trees. The braille, identifications of these trees. I think that was the concept, but I totally agree with you. And, that is close to it's close to a water source. We've got a pond right there. A huge tree, if, 20, 30, 50 feet from that pond is going to find access to that water. I think it's not a terrible idea to put some big trees in that area. And to bring that up, the only reason I bring that up is because we've tried to grow some blight-resistant chestnut trees in Cape May Avenue, and that's just dry as a desert up there. And that garden on the corner there is, the whole concept of that garden is to be low water, so.
But just keep in mind, there is a bunch of pipes that run underneath that ground there. That run that whole entire drainage throughout the whole city there.
Well, we could find out where they are.
Well, I know where they are. Just keep that in mind. There's a lot of drainage that runs through that whole entire area, for the whole city.
Oh, I know there's drainage, just some bizarre drainage over that area too, going through people's property. I don't know how the hell that happened, but, yeah, I totally understand what you're saying, but if there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, like I said, we could take a look. I just don't know about that specific area, but like I said, we can take a look at the species and the punch list and where the contractor's going with it.
Especially if we're talking tactile, and sensory garden. Japanese katsura trees, they're known for their leaves, the fragrance from their leaves smells like bubble gum. And we don't have any of those in the city either. They're typically not good on a streetscape, but in a park setting, they'd be.
And this is a mild point of view coming from us. We were never involved in any of this process years ago.
And obviously, this project started
And
before
trees
Paul
died.
got here, before I
Yeah.
got here.
But if we were
Something we're
involved-
looking at, and obviously, that's why, hey, I'm sitting here to get your input as well, because,
But if we were involved in the beginning, we would have had a list of trees that are acceptable, tactile, sensory.
Yeah.
We would have also said, you can't just plant a tree, you can't just build a park. You've got to have a maintenance plan. And everybody forgets the maintenance plan.
Yeah.
So then you have dead trees that cost a lot of money.
we're correct.
Yeah.
Last thing I'd like to bring up to the commission, it's more to the public. We have a aquifer that goes, what is it, 800 feet down in the ground?
Yes.
So even though we're in a drought, we are, we're water, soluble.
Yeah.
So at this point, I would ask people to volunteer for themselves to water their trees on their yard and water their trees in the street, I think it doesn't take much to do it once a week, watering can and a gallon on your street tree, save the trees. They're in need of help right now. And I'm going to go up and down my street because I see a number of trees that need help.
Yeah.
So, just ask that from the people.
Yeah.
Save the trees.
We had a conversation with Rob Kaminsky, he's our water and sewer superintendent, to just confirm, obviously, with the drought, people are obviously concerned about, hey, what does that mean for the city? There's no cause for alarm or anything like that. Like Councilman Meyer said, the aquifer that we tap into is about 800 feet below ground, so I think we're okay on our water source. but people should be mindful, and like the councilman said, take that opportunity to, as the trees are not looking so great, water them and keep up with it.
Thank you.
Should that be something that's maybe in the Star and Wave, alert the community? What are your
What are your
trees?
trees?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's part of my list. I want to come up with a meeting with Justin and, Jason, excuse me, and put it on the website, one of those things. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
That's Justin, you got it.
Oh, sorry, Justin. But there's a number of things that we should put on the website, including watering your trees, I think.
Yeah, and we were looking at, various, looking at various topics and things like that to, make sure that we're, staying up to date with things going on with the city. So yeah, go to the website, because we're trying to do a better job at updating people through that mechanism, like I said, with the projects and various contacts and things like that.
What I'm going to talk with him is about the website, the shade tree email, the approved tree list, and water your trees. And then we'll talk about other things with the flight.
Shane, excuse me, I think it should really be in the paper too. 'Cause a lot of the population's older and they don't go to the website. They subscribe to the Star and Wave and they'll pick that up and read it on a front page. What are your trees? Help your street trees.
Put on the list.
I mean, I think more you talk about it at these public meetings, I think the Star and Wave listens in to our council meetings and the various boards and commissions. I think allow them that opportunity to report on that.
We can always do a press release, too.
Absolutely.
I think
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
If you get me the information, I'll work with Casey and we'll get that information out there.
Cool.
That's
I'll
great.
meet up with you.
Thank you.
Can somebody refresh my memory on the duration of the contract we have with Top Notch for watering of the trees?
Well, that expired at the end of September.
It already
Right,
expired.
yeah.
However, he did ask for permission to continue with that because this drought is
With payment.
with payment, absolutely.
It's a moving target.
And so far, I don't even know how many waterings he's done since that contract expired, maybe two? I think that's all, which we did say was okay, and I know Jay was in on that decision, too.
I think you want to just make sure that the commission has that opportunity to review what that number looks like, so you guys can have that budget discussion. So maybe someone should have that conversation with Top Notch and say, hey, you're authorized up to X number, and then you have to come back to the commission to make sure that you're not overexpending your funds.
Right, yeah,
That would be my recommendation.
I think that's what we tried to do.
yeah.
Okay?
Any other new business at this point? Does anybody have anything they'd like to bring up? No new business? We need to figure out, well, maybe we can wait till Jay's back, but I'm not exactly sure what's remaining in our budget for this year, and if we can allocate the funds into different areas if needed. That's,
What kind of,
well, so from my understanding, our tree maintenance fund, which we pay Meniere's Landscaping through, we're pretty much out of,
Out of money
that's, yeah, for that, what we had
That-
budgeted.
for that.
But we have other monies left, and I think we're able to, there's a point, I don't know what the point is, but we're able to shift the money. I don't know about that. when
I would
that-
caution you and be very careful with doing that, because that could affect future budgets down the line, because, when you're looking at it, obviously, if you're looking to increase one side, you got to look at decreasing another side, otherwise you're
Yeah.
going to over the total budget itself. So I would caution you, and that's why I was saying, whatever Top Notch is coming in at, make sure you kind of have that hard stop and say, hey, you can't go past this point until you get further permission from the shade tree. That way, everyone has that opportunity to
Right.
review where you're at.
I think we're going to just have to look at the budget in general.
Well, that's what I
right,
mean.
I mean,
Definitely.
legislative versus executive branch, we need to look at the budget,
Yeah,
because it's not working for us.
exactly.
And I would encourage
And I'm your
you-
liaison to city council.
Yeah. I would encourage you to have that conversation sooner than later, because we are in that process right now to start looking at the budget for 2025.
Can I just make a suggestion with the watering of trees, voluntarily by neighbors and such? And, so large trees require a lot of water. Going out there with just a garden hose and sprinkling some water around, you could just be really wasting water. A gallon or two of water is going to do nothing for a very large tree. The roots aren't even at the trunk. You'd have to, try to find where the drip line is, and most of the drip line is typically covered by a street or sidewalk or whatever the case might be. You could be really just wasting water at this point. I mean, we're at a time of the year where the deciduous trees are now dropping the leaves anyhow. They conserve water naturally. This may be more of a concern when we go into early spring, I would think. Right now, I just don't see how that's going to be all that advantageous of going out there and trying to just throw a little bit of water on a tree.
Well, I think if it's a tree that's been planted within the last few years, that root system is still not
Newly planted
established
tree.
enough.
Granted, right,
I mean, I know the tree in front of my house
right.
this is its
I just
third
don't want
year.
to get
and
the information out there incorrectly, right. That I'll agree with. New
Good point.
plantings, of course.
And I mean,
we
and
want
that's
people-
not technically
Right.
considered new at this point, it's 3 years. But it is still, in the root system is still very much so not developed and not extensive, so it does need that extra water. If you're talking about one of the large sycamores that's 100 years old on Washington Street, you may be right that it won't do much. But if it's a smaller tree, especially if it's been planted within the last few years, it definitely can still use water this time of
The
year.
other thing that happens at this time of the year also, being that the ground is as dry as it is, most of that little bit of water that you'll start out with will just be runoff anyhow. And so you
Oh, it
actually
takes a while.
saturate the soil. So you'd have to leave a hose running for
That's basically what I do.
considerable amount of time at a low drip or
Right.
whatever it would be.
At a slow
Just
drip.
going out there with some water and pouring around it, 90% of it's just going to be runoff. It's not going to reach the roots anyhow.
You're exactly right. When I brought this up, I was thinking about the smaller trees.
Right.
But, when you say that the rain that we just had, did it have a big impact? No. Did we need it? Yes. And if the people are willing to help a tree, especially their own trees that they planted and paid for themselves, I think they're doing themselves a service. And they're spending their own money on water anyway. So I think it's all positive.
Okay. And there's no
Good
water
point.
restriction, as you said. So
Correct.
that's
So-
also a good thing to
And we
know.
do have a number of new street trees
yeah.
throughout the community that would be
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
positively impacted by
Yeah.
residents where those trees are located to water them.
Best way to water that, if you can get typical lawn sprinkler out there on a low flow and just let it saturate and let it really.
Yeah, I take my garden hose and put out a really slow drip, and it's
Right.
on that tree for 4 to 5 hours, usually once or twice a week.
Good point.
Excellent.
All right. Anything else? Any new business? No new applications? All right. If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Anyone want to make that motion?
Motion to adjourn?
Seconded by
Sure.
Carol. All in favor?
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you,
you.
Justin.